Good afternoon. For once you have tasted flight, you will forever walk the earth with your eyes turned skyward. For there you have been, and there you will long to return. Those words credited to Leonardo da Vinci ring very, very true to me. I feel it's incredibly important to not only find a pastime, but a passion. And flying is that passion for me. As a child, about 4 years old, I was exposed to flying through the exploits of my father. He was a habitual experimenter, relentless in the pursuit of flying. He was very isolated from other people, kept to himself, had a little workshop on our property. It was either through PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, as my mother credited his condition, or through the genetic thread of Asperger's that runs through our family. He would build single-seat contraptions, gyrocopters, Benson style, if you're familiar with that type of aircraft. He was desperate to leave the things of man, and yet these contraptions were cobbled together with earthly words like yield, speed limit 35. I believe parts of the engine said Aquanet. But the peace he found in those earthly things was both ironic and beautiful. And yet I was too young to really appreciate his kind of flying. He would take us to fly-ins, gatherings of airplanes when I was very small, but I wasn't so much interested in what was going on at the airport at that time. Growing up poor was an interesting experience. I was more intrigued with the adventures of my great Uncle Jack. My mother's brother was the quintessential captain at American Airlines. I was 11. Mom was a single parent. Times were pretty tough. Jack would swoop into town in his captain's uniform, change into a three-piece suit, and take us all out for fine dining at Red Lobster. This was amazing to me. He represented all that was sophisticated, adventurous, accomplished, and rich. We would stay up late at night listening to his stories about his buddy Billy Claude Taylor and old myths that would wrap themselves into complicated stories that would somehow link together at the end with a punchline to beat all punchlines. He was absolutely amazing. And I would desire to be like my Uncle Jack throughout the rest of my school days. But life gets in the way. When I was 18, I chose instead to marry my high school sweetheart, move out to the middle of a desert valley in California. One marriage, 2 kids, 1 divorce, and a decade later, I rediscovered flying. But this time I fell in love with flight itself. I was finally old enough to understand that my dad wasn't all wrong, and my uncle, amazing as he was, wasn't all right. Maybe it had to do with all those girlfriends in all the cities. The feeling flying gives me and the places it can take you are absolutely magical. I earned my private pilot's license in 2003 and purchased a small Cessna 150 in 2004. Wow. That really enabled me to finally go places, and I could go places for days at a time. And that really opens new doors. I joined the Cessna 150, 152 Club, which exposed me to other people that shared that passion, and met friends all over the world. Since that time, I've helped save a historic airplane in Norway and brought it to the States for restoration. Made friends in Alaska who doors opened for me to refresh my seaplane rating, which I finally did get a couple years ago. And I have friends in Australia ready to loan me a plane and go fly anywhere in the country I want to go. Really, really opens doors. But on these long cross country, more important than that, I challenged my skill. I gained confidence, and I gained perspective. The clarity you get when you're flying a small plane is absolutely amazing. Worry and stress all stay on the ground. Up there, nothing can touch you. And it took me to some amazing places where I even met the man of my dreams. I flew from Florida in Sassy. In Lulabelle, Dan flew Sassy from New York, and we met in Iowa. in a cornfield in the middle of nowhere, where once a year all the Cessna 150, 152 club members gather and spend the week unsticking ourselves from the ground. It made sense to get married, doing what we were very passionate about. See, we both rejected the idea of a big wedding. We decided instead to climb into Sassy and get married while flying. We didn't want a lot of adoring guests. We didn't need the gifts, the cakes, the Macarena. We were followed by our mechanic, who is also a pilot, and a minister. And over an air-to-air frequency, we said our vows. And we were married 1 mile high on New Year's Eve last year. When the ceremony was done, we celebrated with an aileron roll and enjoyed the rest of the pleasant flight back home. So I would encourage you to find your passion. Chase it with every ounce of your being. Discover the freedom that that can give you. You never know how far or how high it can take you. Thank you.